I'm Mr. O, here with another moment at the Children's Museum of Houston. G'day mates, I'm heap stoked to share with you one crack of a project. Crikey, but it's going to be bonza fun. No, I can't. The original idea was I was going to do this entire episode in an Australian accent, but it's hurting even my ears, so let's just go make a boomerang. When most of us think of boomerangs, we tend to think of three things. First, Australia. Second, we tend to think of this, a V-shaped piece of wood that's curved on one side, flat on the other. And third, that a boomerang, when thrown, will always come back. But these concepts are not always entirely accurate. First, while many of us associate boomerangs with the Aboriginal culture in Australia, boomerangs have been found all over the world, including North America, Europe, North Africa, India, and Egypt. The famous pharaoh, King Tutankhamun, had a huge collection of boomerangs buried with him. And the oldest known boomerang, made out of mammoth tusk, was found in South Poland and is estimated to be about 23,000 years old. Second, not all boomerangs have the classic symmetrical V shape. Many of the ancient ones were nearly straight or weighted on one end. And modern boomerangs can have 3 or even 4 wings. Finally, boomerangs were not intended to come back. They were hunting weapons. While it's fun to think about that if I throw a boomerang and miss something, it comes back to me. In fact, returning boomerangs are lighter weight, so they don't have too much power behind them, and they tend to fly in a high arc, so they're not that accurate. More than likely, returning boomerangs were accidentally discovered while making hunting boomerangs. They were then adopted for use in sports and games. Let's throw this one out there. Remember, science is fun, but can also be dangerous, so always have a responsible adult helping you. We're going to make a boomerang out of cardboard. Why cardboard? Well, I'm not allowed to throw my wooden boomerang indoors anymore after the lamp incident. I'm not allowed to throw it outdoors anymore after the window incident. So we're just going to skip all that and give you something safe to throw at home. For this, you'll need cardboard, like from a cereal box, a protractor, a pair of scissors, a pencil or a pen or a marker, a ruler, a stapler with staples, and clear tape. The key to making a good boomerang is symmetry. The more accurate you are, the more symmetrical it's going to be. So don't rush. Take your time and take some good measurements. First, measure and cut out 3 1.5 inch by 6 inch strips from the cardboard. Stack the strips on top of each other and cut about a 1 inch notch through all 3, starting in the center of a narrow end. Now that we have our wings, let's connect them. Start by inserting the notch of one wing into the notch of a second, like so, making a V shape. Then turn it into a Y shape by inserting the notch of the third wing with one side between the 2 other wings and the other under the other wings. If you did it right, you'll see 3 flaps on the top and 3 on the bottom. Now that's all connected, we need to spread them out equally. To do this, we'll use a protractor to measure 120 degrees between each of the wings. Why 120 degrees? Well, it has to do with circles. Pretend the boomerang is inside of a circle with each wing equally spaced apart. From one point on a circle back around to the starting point is 360 degrees. So if we want the 3 wings to be equal distances apart, that would be 360 degrees divided by 3, which is 120 degrees. To measure this with a protractor, place the top wing on the bottom line, facing the 0 side of the protractor, and the middle wing on the numbers. Move the middle wing so the point where the wings meet is on the center point of the protractor. Holding the rest in place, move the middle wing until the inside edge is on the 120 degree mark. To hold that spot, place a small piece of tape in the center. Now repeat the same step with the top and bottom wing. Once you have 2 done, the third section should already be at 120 degrees, but it never hurts to check. If it isn't at 120 degrees, go back and check your other 2. Finally, staple between each of the wings in the center to fully hold it all together. Now that we've built our boomerang, we're ready to go throw it, but we're going to need a little more room than we have in here. When you're ready to throw your boomerang, you're going to need some space, so outdoors is a great idea if it isn't too windy. If it is, or it's rainy or whatever, find a nice big room with tall ceilings. Start by pinching one wing of your boomerang between your thumb and forefinger. Now, hold your boomerang up so that your thumb is facing inward towards your body. Look at the boomerang. You want it to flop inward towards you just a bit. If it is flopping outward, either turn it around or give your wings a very gentle fold. The key to tossing your boomerang is wrist motion. You want to flick your wrist during release. So when you throw, your arm motion will provide the power, but the wrist makes the boomerang spin. We'll talk about why the spinning is important in a moment. Get that? Finally, throw it, aiming up just a bit. Remember to cock back both your arm and wrist. A gentle throw is all you need, but you need to get that wrist flick so it spins. It may not come back to you on the first try, that's okay. It takes some practice to get the throw right, and if there's a breeze, you may need to play with the direction you throw it a bit. But I haven't gotten to the heart of the science yet. Why does the boomerang come back at all? Well, it comes back down to what I mentioned earlier, the fact that the boomerang spins. Pretend we're looking down on me just throwing a boomerang. This is my head here, doesn't look much like it, and the boomerang is here just as I let go. A spinning boomerang is like a top. The spinning creates angular momentum. We talked about angular momentum before in the oh wow moment, science is the tops. Basically, it's a moment of force acting inward. In this case, it keeps the boomerang from flopping over. But the spinning isn't the only motion. In addition to spinning, the boomerang is moving forward. That means the wing on top is both moving forward and spinning forward, while the wing on the bottom is spinning backwards against the forward motion. So when you combine the two motions, the wing on top is moving faster than the wing on the bottom. That difference in speed creates torque, a turning force that changes angular momentum. So if we go back to the top view, the angular momentum is initially pointing right towards me, but the torque as it spins through the air changes the direction of the angular momentum, and therefore the boomerang slightly inward. Of course, the boomerang doesn't stop moving, so the angular momentum and the boomerang keep shifting due to torque, resulting in an arc that ideally brings the boomerang back to you. This design, while not traditional, is still fair dinkum, so have a go with this bit of ripple fun. Look, I'm sorry, it still hurts my ears. So what I would like for you to do is go experiment with this design a little bit. Make it bigger, make it smaller, make it thinner, make it fatter. What can you do to improve the accuracy of it? And then go online and post whatever you create on our Facebook page, but make sure you get your parents' permission first. This has been another oh wow moment from the Children's Museum of Houston. We hope your mind can come out to play.